I want to tell you something about a friend of mine, Mike Jankovich. Mike Jankovich doesn't touch knuckles unless he's wearing gloves in a ring. When Mike was young, his hands fought within the ropes, and outside the ropes he used his head. There was no lack of finesse inside the ring, and more notably inside a china shop. Mike Allen Jankovich was born February 10th, 1968. Most kids at the age of 2 said Dada. The first words out of Mike's mouth were, "I'll do it," and ever since, Mike said 3 syllables to his name. Mike's the man. If anyone could or would, Mike's the man. When Mike was in his teens, Mike's words turned from "I'll do it" to "I'll get it done." And he has ever since. No question that Mike J. had it rough growing up, in the Morgan Street area of Bridgeport, Illinois, Cook County, a mostly Irish-American working-class neighborhood that made a great effort in the face of difficulties. Bridgeport, formerly known as Hardscrabble, has been home to 5 of Chicago's 45 mayors, a melting pot of Lithuanian Americans, Mexican Americans, Chinese Americans, and Polish Americans, as well Eastern European Croatian Americans, hence Mike's surname of Jankovich. Mike's parents divorced when he was 2. His father left the picture. His mother died of uterine cancer. Mike also takes legal guardianship for his older brother Joe, who's mentally disabled. Mike Jankovich intimately knows the definition of family, commitment, and dedication. He knows what it is to fall through the ropes and learn how to get back through those ropes before a 20 count. Mike Jankovich is no doubt a first-class character. Mike's neighborhood playground was ethnically rich in culture. There, Mike took to being a smart street kid. Some kids aren't suited to be street kids. Mike thrived on it. It's where he learned how to fight, learned about haymakers and headbutts, all the while earning mental toughness. Looking through his muscled peekaboo, you learned to fight or you were sucker punched. Being an outside fighter or quick on his feet, Mike felt safety in the ring. When he was in the ring, it was him or the other guy. Knockdowns proven by professional statistics, it was Mike Jankovich, who rarely kissed the canvas. The man with a granite chin feeling right at home in his neutral corner. Anytime Mike could, he'd hang with the tough guys. Even though Mike was 10, 15 years younger, it was Mike Jankovich who often had the last word. You learn to not mess with Jankovich, known for his agility and a flash knockdown, and as a great showboating performer, dancing around those that more than likely took the time skinning their gloves. Mike's robust personality is 2 elements shy from kickstarting a tornado. Call it a bum's rush, if you will. Add heat and sweat to Mike's often icy exterior, and the funnel starts its spiral. Then get out of his way or you'll be swept into the gales of a twister. Most people who have experienced a tornado say it sounded like a freight train. This is Mike Jankovich's true north. It keeps the Joe Palookas and the pity-pat slaps at a distance. Tornado chasers often observe that there are 2 sides of a tornado: devastation and its beauty, nature in its finest fury. Mike J is just that, a force to be reckoned with. Mike's gift is taking the fallen and getting it or them back up and running better than before. Mike has melded and refined the good from his youth into the Mike he is today. Mike's a constantly changing weather pattern, looking for an alley to spin down, literally an alley. Half the size of urban neighborhoods are alleyways. To know a community, a neighborhood, or a street is to know where the front door, side doors, and back doors are located. Mike learned this as a kid on the street. In a kid's mind, it's survival, knowing the ins and outs of the hood when you're the one that's doing the chasing or the one that's being chased. But Mike's no kid. He knows how to work a neighborhood with a vigilant, keen eye, knows when to lead with his chin and when not to. Coming from the streets, Mike knows what keeps neighborhoods running strong, what works and what doesn't. He's been around it, over it, and literally under it, being a member of the local 597 Pipe Fitters Union. He knows guidelines and regulations. He knows the definitions of safety, always focused on what lurks around the next corner. Mike knows how a neighborhood is supposed to line up and take action when it's off its mark. Over 4 decades, Mike J knows Chicago. He understands the daily machine. Mike J. knows many of the same people as Daley, some of the old-timers still here, and those now his peers. Jankovich more than knows the unions, streets and sanitation, police precincts, fire departments, park districts, senior citizen housing, all attributes culminating in strength, conviction, knowledge, disclosure, and relationships. Most of all, political acumen. Mike takes on all prospective issues as a main event. He's a ring generalship fighter, or skilled at taking control where his focus is, knowing when to lay back on the ropes. Mike's upcoming victory will be greeted by crowds of supporters, among them who chant, "Mike Jankovich is nobody's puppet." Critics emphasize, "You asked for it, and Mike J. will get his crew on it." How often a neighborhood association doesn't understand what it takes and the political protocol on how to process the concerns for their community, the obvious changes which would make a good community better. Change takes time, especially the right changes. Even if it is in the best interest for the community, you can want a street sign up the next day, but it won't be. It must process correctly. There's uphill ladders to permits, bills to push through, legislation, political schematics, ongoing communication, writings, securing voting budgets. Mike Jankovich whips with a resonant voice. In boxing terms, a barn burning is what everyone hopes for. Aldermen, regardless of which ward they represent, need support and volunteers, the creativity, innovation, time, seasons, and budgets. Neighbors rest concerns on the alderman's shoulders, and the alderman holds neighbors' interests through political savvy and intelligence. Constituents regard similar needs: respect, joy, safety for residents, and vigilance for community's children. Residents, through volunteer efforts, invest their eyes for neighborhood watch, positive growth in their community, as well as keeping the alderman and his or her in the common know. A well-informed resident about community issues knows restrictions, regulations, and disciplinary needs. Neighborhood residents need to have an open line of communication with their alderman. An alderman must be accessible to ward constituents to hear what present and future issues residents are concerned with. If Mike J. could, he'd spend the time outside of Chicago in Costa Rica, but since Mike can't spend the time in Costa Rica, he brings a little bit of paradise to wherever he is. Mike gives great rooftop parties, summer parties, winter parties on his own dime. He's got an invite list that goes way beyond what you might see at a sports event. He's a chef in his own right, and above all wants to treat his friends the way he likes to be treated. Respectful, being approachable, honest, with intellect, dependable, forthright, also having good food, good music, good talk, and surrounded by great eclectic people. Anyone who knows Mike Jankovich considers Mike the man Jankovich, a friend, resourceful, rich in street personality, doing his best to do most anything for his pals. When overseeing a community's welfare, it doesn't take a Harvard graduate. It takes audacity for the good, acumen with chutzpah, to know the many and the whos, whens, and the whats, and wheres when supporting a neighborhood's lifeline integrity. Mike, a member of the local 597 Pipe Fitters Union, deals with hospitals, refineries, schools, and offices. Working in the heat of the summer to the cold of winter rests on his fellow crew. The local 597 deals in mathematics, science, drawing, computer technology systems, which must be maintained to run a community's life's resources. This is Mike's education. Acumen chutzpah. Mike Jankovich's history, his professional training, fighting. It's in his blood to fight. The ringside now is the ring of commitment to fight the fight for what's right. Mike Jankovich knows politics. The politics one only gets to know when inside the beast. But to Mike, it's all about resolve. Mike Jankovich wears the role of alderman for all wards in Chicago, Illinois. He takes immediate action to resolve the injustices he sees wherever they may be, and the people know it. They will attest to it. It's the majority decision. It's evident proof of Mike J's solid backbone. Find Mike, or he'll find you. He'll bare-knuckle it, until resolve. Mike puts people to work, gives support like a cornerman in the ring. The alderman machine that it takes to administer over a great neighborhood, Mike J. knows how to oil that machine, to keep it running smoothly, and how to drive that machine forward. It does take a village with a watchful eye behind whose grip is at the wheel. Mike knows jabs and what below the belt feels like. Mike Allen Jankovich is not a dirty fighter. He doesn't rabbit punch or hit on the brake. Pound for pound, Mike Allen Jankovich has never thrown in the towel, because Mike Jankovich goes the distance. Hey Mike, good luck. You're the next guy.